In today's Reddit story, my mother-in-law secretly changed my baby's name without telling me. So I exposed her and cut her out of our lives. I'll never forget the day I found out that my mother-in-law had secretly changed my baby's name. Yes, you read that right. She went behind my back, forged legal documents, and altered my child's identity without my consent. When I found out, I was absolutely livid. I still can't believe the audacity of this woman. And trust me, what you're about to hear will make your blood boil. Let me set the scene. My husband and I had just had our first baby, a beautiful little girl we named Ava. The name wasn't just something we picked out of a hat. It had deep personal meaning. My grandmother, who had passed away the year before, was named Ava, and naming our daughter after her felt like the perfect way to honor her memory. My husband's mom, however, hated the name. From the moment we told her what we decided to call our daughter, she had nothing but negative things to say. She claimed it was too old-fashioned and insisted we choose something more modern. I brushed it off at first, thinking it was just typical mother-in-law nitpicking. But little did I know, this woman had plans to take things into her own hands. The first few weeks after Ava was born were blissful. I was adjusting to life as a new mom, and despite my mother-in-law's constant criticism about everything, from how I was feeding the baby to what clothes she was wearing, I was doing my best to stay calm. My husband tried to mediate, telling me that his mom meant well and that I should let it go. But I could feel the tension building every time she visited. Then, one day, the unimaginable happened. We were expecting Ava's birth certificate in the mail, and when it arrived, I opened it, excited to see her name officially in print. But when I pulled the document out, my heart stopped. The name on the certificate was not Ava. I blinked, thinking it had to be some kind of mistake. Maybe the hospital had gotten it wrong. But no. I looked closer, and there it was. My daughter's name had been legally changed to Sophia, a name my mother-in-law had loved and suggested during my pregnancy. I felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. How could this happen? We hadn't agreed to this. My husband was just as shocked as I was, and we immediately started calling around to figure out what had gone wrong. That's when we discovered that someone had actually requested the name change. At first, we thought it must have been some kind of clerical error, but then we dug deeper. After a few frantic phone calls to the Vital Records office, we found out that my mother-in-law had somehow gotten her hands on the paperwork and submitted a request to change Ava's name. She had forged signatures, pretended to be me, and managed to make it seem like we had approved it. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My own mother-in-law had gone behind my back and changed my baby's name without telling me. I was livid. The audacity, the entitlement, the insanity of it all was too much to comprehend. Who does something like that? Who thinks they have the right to interfere with something so personal, so sacred as naming your own child? We confronted her immediately, of course. I called her, shaking with anger, demanding to know what she had done. At first, she tried to play dumb, acting like she didn't know what I was talking about. But when I told her we had proof, she finally admitted it. "I did it for the baby," she said, her voice calm, like she had done nothing wrong. "Sophia is a much better name. Ava is too outdated. I was only thinking of what's best for her." I was speechless. My husband was furious too. But even he couldn't stop his mother from doubling down on her actions. She actually tried to justify it, tried to convince us that she knew better than we did what our daughter should be called. I couldn't take it anymore. I told her she had no right at all, to make decisions about our child without consulting us. I made it clear that what she had done was unforgivable, and that we would be cutting her out of our lives until further notice. You'd think she'd apologize, right? That she'd realize the enormity of what she'd done and beg for forgiveness? Nope. Instead, she played the victim. she started telling the rest of the family that I was the one being unreasonable, that I was keeping her granddaughter away from her over something as small as a name. She even went as far as to claim that I was overreacting. At first, I was worried about what the rest of the family would think. But you know what? I didn't care anymore. I had to protect my daughter from this kind of toxic behavior. I had to stand up for myself and for my child's identity. So I cut her off completely. The first thing we did was contact a lawyer to fix the legal mess my mother-in-law had caused. Thankfully, we were able to reverse the name change, but it wasn't easy. The process took weeks of paperwork, court filings, and phone calls, all because of her selfish actions. During that time, we heard from other family members who, shockingly, sided with her. They called me dramatic, saying I was taking things too far by cutting her off. But I wasn't about to let anyone convince me I was wrong for protecting my daughter. My mother-in-law had crossed a line, and there was no going back. Months passed, and we never heard from her again, until Ava's first birthday. My husband and I planned a small party with close friends and family, but we hadn't invited my mother-in-law. That didn't stop her from showing up unannounced, though. She walked into the house, acting like nothing had happened. I couldn't believe the nerve. She brought a huge present for Ava and tried to play the role of the doting grandmother, but I wasn't having it. I took her aside and told her once again that she wasn't welcome. I told her that until she acknowledged what she had done, took full responsibility, and apologized, not just to us, but to our daughter, she would never be a part of Ava's life. I could see in her eyes that she thought I'd eventually cave, that I'd let her back in because family is family. But I stood my ground. And that was the last time I saw her. It's been over a year since I cut my mother-in-law out of our lives, and honestly, it's been the best decision I've ever made. My husband and I have rebuilt our lives without her constant interference, and Ava is growing up happy and healthy with the name we chose for her. There are still family members who think I'm being unreasonable, but I don't care anymore. My priority is my daughter, and no one, not even her grandmother, gets to dictate what's best for her.